and welcome back to another episode of the Nicki Sun Show. This time I'm in fabulous Viva Las Vegas at one of my friends' homes. So please welcome to the show Mari Takahashi, aka Atomic Mari.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be doing this with you.
Oh, I'm so glad that we made time. I feel like you're one of those people online that I'm like, if she responds, amazing, but if not, she has so many different things going on, and I love that for you.
I feel like it's a blessing and a curse because it's like I think that I must appear a lot more busy than I am at sometimes, and so I feel like I need to just put somewhere like I'm ready to work.
Yep.
I'm available. I'm here.
But not everybody is just meant for that. I think you just assume that everybody on camera is just like total extrovert, got A, B, C things planned, and like somebody else is there doing it for them. But it's not the case when you are basically the producer, director, editor, writer, host, actor, which you are.
Oh my
You have
goodness.
such an incredible background and journey, and I've been blessed to know Miss Mari since we were in the Bay Area.
2010?
Was that
9?
2000, circa 2010?
Yeah.
That is wild.
Such a long time. I mean, I honestly, it's been so fun seeing our journeys together, and I'm so glad that we've keeping in touch, stayed in touch all these
Yes.
years because I mean, I feel like we've had many like chapters and glow ups throughout our careers,
Yes.
and we've always just
Trust.
been there.
I don't even know if y'all know, but Mari and I met on an audition for SMOSH, for the host position that she had, and it's still online, I think.
Yes,
I think it's like called Worst Audition Ever.
it absolutely is
and
called
we're
that.
both in there. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I look back at it, I'm like, what was I wearing? What was my hair? What was
The
I
whole
doing?
thing, because it was before like anything online, anything YouTube
Yes.
driven was considered a career path or anything that was looked at as, oh, this is maybe something that I should look for for the next pathway or whatnot. It was before any of that. So I think we just, I don't know about you, but I think for most of my career, and I still to this day am this way, I just show up to stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if it's an opportunity or not, but I show up.
Yeah.
And a day on set is a blessed day.
When that SMOSH audition happened, it was still kind of like through a casting in a way.
Yes.
Like Julie, shout out Julie.
Oh my
But
goodness.
she had reached out and it was like on this casting thing. So I was like, is this an acting job or a hosting job? Because for hosts, it's like, man, there's not many hosting jobs. There's a lot of acting jobs.
You know what I thought it was?
What?
I thought it was a job interview. I had a resume with me. I thought it was
Wait, really?
yes,
Yeah.
because I was on set the day before
Okay.
for what became the Pokemon Revenge song
We have to
video.
look all of these videos up. Oh my God.
And Julie was like, "Hey, will you come back tomorrow? There's a spot for a possible recurring character, and we're just seeing we're just auditioning some people."
Yeah.
So me being a theatrical person, an audition for me is like I do the work and
You're
and
studying,
there's like an
what a city.
interview.
Yeah.
Like I had my resume and my headshot with me, and then I mean, you remember this. We walk in and we were at separate times, but it's this very strange, long, narrow room, and there's a single camera.
Yep.
Ian and Anthony on one side, and then we're just on the other end of this hallway-looking place.
Yep.
And they ask the weirdest questions.
I know, girl. I felt so dumb. May I tell you? They asked me what my favorite meme was, and I didn't know what the a meme was.
I didn't know what a meme was at that
I
time.
was like, what did I say? I said something weird, and I'm like, and then I think Ian Anthony was like, okay. And I was like, did I get the question right or wrong?
It's because we weren't internet girlies,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah, that's why we're just setting the stage. Like
Yeah.
back in 2010, like being asked these questions, it was really like a job interview,
Yes.
an audition. We had no idea this audition would be put on the internet for the world to vote on, which was kind of like a scary element for me because I was like, oh man, people can be so mean.
I couldn't fathom what that even meant. I think I was so offline. I only watched YouTube for Ryan Higa, Kev Jumba,
Yep.
Michelle Phan, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And so when they're like, yeah, it's gonna, I also didn't do my homework. I didn't know who they were. So
Okay.
I think, like, I think there was a lot of elements playing here where I'm like, I don't know what this is. I have a career. I'm a professional ballerina. That's what I do. This is a side, I don't know.
Yeah.
Side
So
gig.
take us through that. Coming from a professional ballerina background, and this audition comes up and you're taking it, and you did such an amazing job with that opportunity. I mean, look at everything that you're doing now. I'm just like, oh, yes, so good. But like, when did you go from like, okay, this is just the internet or whatever, to like, I can actually, could be a job. Could be a full-time thing for me.
Oh gosh, I didn't get to, I wish I was the type of person where I'm like, oh yeah, as soon as I got it, I knew that this was going to be something that will change the world, and how we see entertainment and all that stuff. I didn't have that foresight at all. I just got incredibly lucky to have been there at its inception when it was so new. If anything, it was my way of running away from my actual career.
Which was?
Ballet.
Ballet.
Because ballet was a thing where I knew I was in at that time in my life, it was the thing I was going to do until my knees broke, and then I would teach ballet until the day I died. Like, it was my life track, and it was already kind of, I don't know, written in stone. Like, I just didn't think that I would veer. So this little side gig that was so different from anything that I did was just a really fun thing for me to escape into.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never written for comedy, never directed anything, been in front of the camera. I was never performative verbally, always just with my body with ballet. So it was something new that I could sink my teeth into and really just run away from the other thing that I was doing.
See, but I look at it, I'm like, wow, ballet, that is such even more hard career to get into. That's why when I look at you, I'm like, wow, you get all these really crazy, like, there's one person for the job, and that's Mari Takahashi. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like literally like look up to you, you're like such an inspiration. But like when I
Oh my
see that
gosh,
you're doing
Nicki,
all these things,
the
I'm like,
adoration
this is amazing.
the adoration is like, it's a mirror. I swear, because I mean, you are, from the get-go, you were a people connector. I remember you and I met from the SMOSH thing, and then like a couple months later, we were on a music video together.
Morgan Ashley, shout out.
Yeah, and you brought me onto that, and I was just an extra in the background, and I think you were like at one point like fixing my hair to make sure that it was good on camera, and then you were behind the camera, and all while knowing that you could be wonderful on camera. And I don't know, I think that I just saw somebody who can do everything, and today's setup is a perfect example of it, right? You fly in all your stuff, there's 3 cameras here, and you set everything up. You're I mean, you're a production girl.
Thank you. I have to give like all the credit, at the same time, to like being surrounded by really good people and really believing in abundance mindset, that there is room for everybody at the top. And that's why, even when I walked onto that set and I was like looking at the video, I was so happy. I was like, there's another Asian woman. I'd never seen that.
2 of us, yes.
I was like, this kind of sucks because they're pitting us. They might be like, there can only be one.
Yeah.
And, I might feel bad, but I was like, for the first time, I was like, wow, there's somebody else in this industry, in the Bay Area, mind you. Because, we weren't in LA at the time, where it's a little bit more like common to be an actor in entertainment. I was like, desperately trying to find somebody that looked like me, that was doing something that also wasn't news anchoring, because that wasn't my kind of trajectory. I'm like, I can't report on sad news every day. I can't. But I'm like, I give kudos to those who can. But it's like infotainment. So when I saw you, like, because I didn't know who was auditioning until like after the video came out, I was like, wow. And I was like, if it's not me, I hope it's her.
Oh my God.
I was like, if it's not me, I hope it's her, because it's just like so wild. And that's why I get really excited when I see you still doing it and like putting in the work and the practice and just loving it. And then sharing that with more people who can be inspired to do that. I mean, you ventured into like esports before it was really popular, and I just see you as a pioneer in a lot of these like mediums.
I think it is fully because of exactly what you said. Surrounding myself with good people. And I don't think there's any way that I would have been doing all this internet stuff for this long if it weren't for the people around me who are supportive and championing me and, you know, just picking me up when I was like so down on myself.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets me down is not even the internet. It's the voices in my own head, you know, and it's
also the thing that's going down right now is the mic. So can we put it back up? I'm literally seeing it sink. And I kind of see like our amazing field producer, Rocky Nash. I could see kind of like she's about to say something like, can I do this? But yeah, no, I love it because the show is really an ode to filmmakers, to the one woman bands, the one man bands. You got that? And let's see all the BTS behind it. I mean, that's so cool. I love polish, but I love transparency.
The microphone's like, it's my day off and I'm here. Can we please?
Maybe that's a little too high. Now let's bring it just a little lower. Yeah. And then like right here. And then a little tip for our podcasters out there, like a fist. Yep. And
right
then,
around here.
Yeah, right around there.
Okay.
And that'll be like a sweet spot.
I'll do one of these and keep it tipped up in case it, you know.
No, I'll see it. I'll see
Okay.
it. And then if not, I'll see Rocky in the back going like, But that was a perfect transition because you're like, I want to get down on myself. I'm like, yeah, that microphone's going down.
That's a good segue. That's a pro right there. That's a professional host.
Yeah, I just like at the same time, it's funny. But, you know, on the not so funny side of it, I did want to ask because, you know, being thrown into the internet with like an audience that, you know, I will say honestly, like SMOSH's audience is a little different. You know, it's younger, teenage boys. And I was like, man, I'm about to be thrust into that. And I don't know what the comments could be. And I know at the time, like, how did you get through that? Like, is there something like, I'm just not going to read the comments? Or like...
Oh, I read all the comments.
And like,
I read all of them.
And how did you take it? Or how did you help protect yourself from, you know?
If I remember correctly, I think it was for 6 months, I uploaded a video every single Saturday. And for 6 months, it was like 60% dislikes, which back then you could see the red bar and the green bar.
So cruel.
Yeah. Now you don't even see the dislikes. Before it was like a very stark color and red all the way. Majority is a very scary thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have continued posting videos if I was on my own. But Ian and Anthony were like, oh, no, they'll come around. It's fine. Just keep posting.
I love that.
And we're so nonchalant. Mm-hmm. And I think that if I didn't feel like I had a job to do, which is deliver a video every Saturday, I would have seen it differently. I think if I was on my own, it would have discouraged me, which is such a testament to if you are going about this alone, just think about the opportunity you're missing out on. Because if I had stopped after week 2, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
I would be dancing. Yeah. And I don't know if I would have liked that at all.
Yeah.
You know, and now I get to create and make films and all these other things, dreams that I would have never even dreamt of. And so, you know, those comments, some of them, you know, the worst comments were the ones that were true.
Ooh.
Because...
ones like that you think are true about yourself?
Yeah, the ones where it's like, I don't like Mari because she's trying too hard.
Ooh.
And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm trying very, very hard, which is why it's coming across like this. But I think at the same time, they were really important for me to get through. And this is a weird scapegoat thing because ballet was my career at that time. That when the comments... got really mean, I'm like, well, I don't care because this isn't what I do.
Yeah.
And I ran away to the other thing. And when ballet got hard, I'm like, well, I got this other job, so I got to do this one. I was using both of those things as scapegoats for me to find something in the middle, some semblance of I don't know, just being able to find a little bit of peace within two things that I enjoyed doing and also hated doing at some points.
Yeah. Was there a canon event that made you find that peace for yourself?
I loved it when there were comments, and I would just remember commentators or commenters who would leave negative things, and then I would see a shift. All of a sudden, 1 week it's I'll never watch a video with Mari in it, and the following week it was like, I really like her, I can't wait for next week's video or whatever it is. And when I saw the shift, I think it gave me a boost of all right, I can keep going at this. And it was such a new thing for me to learn too, that I think I gave myself a break where I'm like, well, it's not perfect, but it's going out there. I have a very, very different outlook now on negative comments and stuff, but at the time, that's where it was.
Tell, what are your thoughts now? Because I think maybe what you have to say and everything that you've been through from like the time that it wasn't to what it is now, I could help a lot of maybe creators who are looking up to like, man, how do I break out of this? Like, what is that mindset that I need to adopt in order to continue to create and tell stories, that do the thing that I love?
Now my mindset is most people who make comments have no idea how to do this, have no context as to what goes into it, how much work and time and energy, blood, sweat, and tears go into it. And a comment is so flippant and has no context as to what it took to get there. So now I see it as so segue. So
Sure.
One day I was talking to my husband, Peter,
Okay.
and for whatever reason, I made Carrot Top the butt of the joke. I was like, yeah, well, but Carrot Top. And then I stopped myself and I said, why is Carrot Top always the butt of the joke for people? Like, why is he the comic where people go, oh, everything that he does is whatever? And so then I started going down this rabbit hole of, is he like a Nickelback situation where we started hating it because everyone else hated it? And so I started going down this rabbit hole, and I found this really profound podcast interview with Carrot Top, and he was talking about you should know your source of anyone who is talking bad or good about you. And he said that he goes on with his career, and he's had an extremely successful career, especially here in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Being, having a residency and everything for years, because early on in his career, George Carlin was like, I like what you do. And he gave him the thumbs up. And because it came from George Carlin, that's who he's listening to. That's the person in his head. Everyone else, like me, who's never done any sort of stand-up comedy ever before, going, but Carrot Top.
Yeah.
Why should I even have any sort of say in how his career is or the entertainment he puts out? I know nothing. And so I think that now that is what I'm putting into, the little filter that I put into with comments, where whether somebody goes, this is incredible or this is trash, I'm like, you don't do what I do.
Yeah.
You don't know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's just somewhere coasting in the middle is the best for me, because I think it's really easy for content creators to have parasocial relationships with their community, the same way that the community has parasocial relationships with them. If we rely, as content creators, if we rely too heavily on needing the positive stuff all the time, then that is just as bad as giving the energy to the hate comments. Yeah. You just got to work on your art and just kind of go for the middle line, and it'll carry you through for a very long time.
Beautifully said. And I'm like, is that the reason why you moved all the way out here to Vegas from the LA area?
No, that was a pandemic thing.
Okay, all right.
That was definitely we Peter and I have friends out here who do stunts, who make films. We've always really enjoyed being around them. And so during the pandemic, we're like, well, we're bursting at the seams in Los Angeles in our little apartment. Let's see how Vegas is now or never. Yeah. And so that's why. And then we loved it. So we stayed here.
You never looked back.
No, I've gotten Vegas plates and everything.
It's official.
It is official.
She's Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Now I'm really excited about what's happening with the film industry here. And Who knows where it's going to go in 5 years, but I think it's going to happen really fast.
Well, tell me about that, because we're here, obviously, also. I mean, I'm here too for NAB Show, and I love that I get to run into you at all these shows as well. But, talking about NAB Show, one of the largest broadcast media entertainment technology trade shows in Vegas, you're there talking like updates, AI, filmmaking. What are your thoughts on how everything is going, and what excites you most about the technology that's happening right now in regards to your craft?
I think the fact that it's just every single day there's more opportunities to learn. Like, it's not going to get stale. I don't think things are going to get stale technology-wise for the rest of our lives. I think that we are the primed sort of generation where we'll be, talking of old folks' homes we were talking about before we started the podcast. I truly believe that when we're all in old folks' homes, we're still going to be like, did you hear about the new AI kitchen robot? It's like,
it cooks for me.
Yeah, like I really do think that there's going to be a continuous learning curve. And for artists, it's always the hope and goal to not replace artists. And I sincerely believe that it's not going to be replacing all of us. I think it's going to change and shift a lot of the things, and some for good things and some for unfortunate things. I do think that there's shifts happening, but we've seen this shift so many times in our lifetime. We didn't used to swipe like this when we do phone stuff. We used to hit buttons and call.
Yeah.
We've changed our daily activities. Internet was not the way that it was. Like we
didn't have Reels or Instagram, and
no, and it wasn't that long ago. And like we were at the dawn of all of that YouTube stuff. Like we just fell ass backwards into this stuff. And so, I'm excited to see how tech continues to go, but I'm also very excited about the learning part.
I think you'd be a great person to answer this. Content creators now, with all the resources and stuff that we didn't have, if you were to give advice on the top 3 things that creators should do now, like what would that be?
Gosh. I think that there are some things about basics that are really valuable to have. And I think that with content creation, it's really easy and accessible, which is fantastic, right? You've got a singular phone, you've got all your editing apps, all that stuff. But I think if you want to start building, it is about surrounding yourself with people who know, technical lighting, three-point cameras, like all these things where there is a melding of traditional that we're already seeing, but I think it's going to go, like 10x. I sincerely do think that content creators today who are starting up on TikTok will be making films, making television shows, writing for things. It's all about not replacing digital with traditional, but learning as much as possible in both camps so that you're just a behemoth. I mean, I think knowing both has been such an asset. And like, I didn't go through traditional film school. I have learned set etiquette and all that stuff by being on set and just being observant. And I think that is something that you can take away from traditional, where it might be a little stuffy sometimes. It might be a little bit serious and a little bit less scrappy than digital. I love the scrappy side of digital, but I also really like the understanding that people come here for a job, and that when it's traditional media, you get in there and you do your job. You show up on time, you get your call sheet and all these things. And sometimes that gets lost on digital, like on the digital side. So having a good marriage. The other things, I don't know if this is so much more of like for content creators, but I think this is in any line of work, is like learn how to communicate with people. I always say show up and don't be an asshole.
Yeah, I love that. Easy. That should be on a shirt.
It's on a
Mari
pin.
Takahashi.
Yeah, show up and don't be an asshole. Where it's just like, showing up can mean many different things. Showing up for yourself, showing up for the people on set around you. and, you know, physically showing up to the thing,
Yeah.
mentally showing up for the thing. But you do have to put in that effort. And however way you learn that sort of grit, right? It's like the number of times I'm sure we've both been on set and 10 minutes before it was terrible news, or, you know, you were sick or whatever it was. And this was a time, I'm talking about a time when we used to show up sick to stuff. It's like, if you didn't have a fever, you're going in sick.
Yeah. Now it's like, no, stay home.
Yeah, now different rules. But, you know, it's that sort of grit of like needing to know that other people rely on you. And so, yeah, I would say whatever that is, make sure you're working hard.
Yeah. And you've worked so hard. I mean, I have to ask you from your perspective, because obviously, like, went on the website, read your bio, you know, things like all the accolades. But if I asked this to a lot of my filmmaker friends, like, if you were to commission me to edit a highlight reel of your life, like, what moments would be the giant chunks that would be like, this has to be in my highlight reel?
That is a insane question, Nicki.
Just a couple. I'm not saying like
it's such
one,
a
two,
good
three,
question,
but just like, if I were to be commissioned to edit a highlight reel of your life, what moments would be in that for you?
You know, I don't know if this would be a big one, but it is going back to, I shouldn't say a big one, like a dynamic one.
Yeah.
But it is going back to paying homage to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that the biggest moments in my career have been the moments that wouldn't make any reel.
Oh,
it's the boring things,
yeah.
right? It is the 10 minutes before you start hitting record. It's the moment when you guys came over.
Yeah.
And I think those are the moments that really make it, not always the moments that are caught on camera. It's, you know, staying after work at SMOSH Games after an 8-hour day and staying for another 4 hours because we don't want to leave each other. It's like, it's that carry me through any of the work that we do. I think it's why I love sets so much, because you see the end goal and you see the thing that's been, you know, polished and made at the end of it. But what happens off camera, I think, is the most beautiful thing. You see, you know, 20 to 300 people whose everyone's goal is the same thing, is to just make that little thing. And it takes every single person in that room to make it happen. And I think that's beautiful. And paying homage to that, I think, is that would be my highlight reel.
I love that. That's such an honest, truthful. It's a very different answer than I've been hearing. But on top of that, this is also the whole go off queen segment, because I feel, especially as women, we don't go off enough and talk about all the things that we've accomplished. I mean, you haven't done traditional media in a way, but you got on Netflix. Okay, you're working with Bill Nye, especially advocating for women in STEM, girls who code. You're like movies. I mean, there's just so many things. But I mean, what makes you do the things that you want to do at the end of the day? Yeah, those are my moments. The highlights are like the stuff behind the camera. But when I'm on camera, what really lights you up to see that I just got to keep doing this? Like, it's not ballet anymore. But what makes you keep getting up and being like, I can live to see another day doing this because I love it?
I think I really feel like I'm on an alternate timeline. Like, I feel like I should not get to do the stuff that I get to do, because I'm like, no, I was supposed to just do ballet for my whole life. It was, I started when I was 2.5, went professional at 17, and I was just supposed to do that, because who puts in that much time and just lets it go, right? Like, I put in almost 30 years before I let it all go. And I've been doing this digital stuff for like a decade. There was a little crossover in between, but you know, it's like, it's a scary thing to shelve a solid pathway for something that is so up and down. I mean, this is a curvy road, and I used to be on a very straight road. So I think it is somewhat of it is disbelief, kind of like a delusion of like, well, I'm already on this weird path. I might as well just throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks, And so I think that I'm allowing myself to dream bigger and put it out there where I'm like, well, I don't know, I want to do this thing. And if there's enough people who are out there listening and good friends who are like, all right, let's make the thing happen. I've been so blessed to be around people like that who are like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, oh my God, we're doing it.
We're doing it. It's live.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
And it's out in the world. It's like you're breathing your baby into the world.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay, what are some things that the world or the internet or the audience doesn't know about you? That you'd be willing to share?
There's definitely a lot of things that the internet doesn't know where I'm like, they didn't need to know because it was very boring. It was boring anyway.
I walked in, I was like, wow, look at your hydroponic plants.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
I am an offline girly these days. Like, I
what are you doing in your offline girl moments?
I hit the gym a lot now. I really like doing domestic stuff. I love doing like the dishes. It's so weird.
What is it about the dishes? It's like it's clean and they were dirty and now they're clean.
No, it's because I'm always cold and my hands get to be under the warm water.
Somebody get this girl a hot towel machine.
I know. Oh my gosh, I would just wrap myself in that all day. If I could, I would live in a dryer. That would feel so nice. I
guess you got the next best thing in Vegas heat.
That's true, yeah.
You just got to go outside for a little bit.
I am kind of like a little lizard. I can bake out there and not get too hot. I think the thing that people don't know too much is that I really do go through my downs. I'm really good at showing off the highlight reels of like all the parts where I'm up, but when I'm down, I'm still really bad about opening up. Yeah. I don't want to feel like, I think it's my upbringing, it's ballet culture, all that stuff, where if I'm expressing the down part of it and not just the high part, I feel like I'm complaining or not grateful enough. Like a lot of Asian qualities where it's just like you just stick it through until it's back up again. Yeah. And it doesn't get back up there. It's just that it's when it is on the downside, I don't express it.
Do you have a rule where I'm only allowed to feel this? Like I'm allowed to feel all my feelings, but I'm only allowed to do this for half an hour. Like, do you have, like, things to get you out of that funk when you're in a down state?
I think I let myself, pre-pandemic,
okay,
it was like, you don't go down to that state. Okay. You feel it creeping up.
Yep.
You fix it with something else.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic and, like, during the pandemic, I'm like, I'm going to be sad for a week. I'm just going to let myself be sad for a week.
Does Peter let you be sad for a week? Or?
He really does.
Okay.
I think because he encourages it, that's what gets me out of it.
All right.
I think if he was like, you're not allowed to, I'm like, well, I wanna.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, take as much time as you need. I'm like, I've had enough. Yeah. That's enough time now.
Yeah.
I'm still like a revolting, like 11-year-old kid, I think.
Yeah.
Still feeling my feelings and figuring it out.
No, I think that's really important to share though, because again, like you're saying, like the highs, I'm asking about highlight reels. We see the highs on social media, but I don't think we talk about the other side of the effects of always feeling like you need to be this perfect, smiley, bubbly person all the time.
Yeah, I think it's so much of it is like I also don't want to burden other people because I have a wonderful community, a really empathetic community, and I feel like if I just need to offload a little bit of my energy that's low, I am worried that my community would just eat it all up and put it on their shoulders. And they don't deserve that, And that's going back to the other side of like the relationship with an audience. It goes both ways, It's like in the same way that they shouldn't expect, like friendship, like true friendship and love from a stranger from me. Yeah. I shouldn't expect their sort of, I don't know, like emotional dependency from my end, you know, like that's not their burden to carry if I'm feeling sad. So I think that's another reason why I keep it in.
Yeah. Girl, I mean, you have your house now, you're doing all these things. What's next for you? What's next for Mari Takahashi?
I really love voiceover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would you like, would a dream be to like play like an animated character, video game, or
Yeah, I think
you're like, I've done that already, Nikki.
no, I haven't. I'm learning so much. And it's kind of a beautiful sort of in between of and this is how I see it. I don't think everyone else sees it this way necessarily, but I think it's a beautiful in between acting and hosting for me because you're fully bringing your acting self, but you're also on a page, which gives me security when I'm hosting, where I'm like, all right, these are the words, and I say those words, but I have the security of having it in front of me. So there's something about it that it clicks in my brain. I really enjoy it. But I think in my life, I've always loved to emulate in real life the video game characters that I love to play. I've talked about it a lot in the past, but it's like Lara Croft and playing her as a video game character. It led me to jump out of airplanes and rock climb and ice climb mountains and summit Kilimanjaro and all these like really active IRL things.
Yeah.
And
real
now,
badass IRL things. Yeah.
I just wanted to be her so bad. But I think that now if I'm able to embody and play the video game characters that I loved playing, but on the voice acting side, I think that would be an insane-o dream to come true. So
wow. Well, I mean, like, is there go ahead, let's manifest. What is the character doing?
I would say a dramatic, like, narrative role.
Okay.
Yeah, something like in the vein of The Last of Us, where there's a real story that's driving the characters, and something where I can bring both drama and comedy. I think that would be it.
Because there is a comedy section on your website that's coming soon.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot.
There's
there.
sketch that's coming soon.
Okay.
There's drama reels that's coming soon. And then the character and commercial voiceover reels. Pretty much everything is shot. So now it's just kind of outputting it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is there going to be like a huge launch day or like a build up to it? Or are you just like,
not.
Nope.
Yep. It'll probably be an email blast to people in the industry. It was like, I updated my website.
There you go.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah, because I think with my audience, it's like I feel really grateful that I have an audience to kind of share these things, but I also don't feel like they're not hiring me, so they don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
In that sense, where it's just like, yeah, I have a new website. So yeah, I think I'm still figuring out just how much to lean on an audience. We've seen a lot of good and bad on the internet. Yeah. And I think it's important that I remain having a good relationship with my community. Because like we said before, like I do think in the same way that we're going to be using technology for a very long time, I think we're going to be doing this for a very long time, Nikki. Like,
it's interesting. Because I was like interviewing people on camera for the longest time. I just didn't call it a podcast back then.
Yeah.
Or podcast. And like people are starting to define things now. And I'm like, I just like creating, but I'm like, oh, this is what I do. Like, oh, your podcast. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's video, it's not just audio. They're like, well, that's a podcast, but when you do that, it's called a VOD. I'm like, it's getting so defined now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting to see that we're really continuing to create. I mean, even at NAB Show now, they're doing a brand new creator lab division where it's focused on the creator economy.
Incredible.
So it's like, wow.
Things are going to continue changing. It's only going to be doing that for the rest of our lives, which is, I think it's exciting. Okay. I think that, I used to think that, 65 is when you retire and then you just do nothing. And I'm like, I hope that I can be, I listen to like a lot of comedians and their podcasts, and they're like in their 60s continuing to podcast, and they're still road dogs, like, you know, going and doing comedy at small little bars every week, and they're still doing the thing that they love. And I hope that I retire when I want to, but
When is
in some
that
ways,
though? You're
I'm like, in some ways, I'm like, I hope I'm continuing to do my craft until
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
you know, and get to do this, because it is such a privilege. And I think being on set is such a privilege, which is why I see it as that is a blessing on its own. That's my only goal. It's to be on as many sets as possible with people that I love.
I love it.
Simple.
I love it. My last question I always end on to is something a little bit outside of ourselves, but what is one thing that you wish society talked about more?
Oof. I mean, we're talking about a lot of things now, which is good.
I feel that now because, like, you know, even mental health and like just being more open about how one's feelings. Like, wow, I hear that a lot more.
Oh
But
my gosh,
growing
so
up
much
though,
more.
I told my mom I was like taking better help or like a therapist, like talking to a therapist, and she was like, "Why do you need help? What's wrong with you?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No," but that's the stigma, you know. So even
Totally.
talking about that, it's like, whoa.
I think, you know, I wish we talked about shame more. I think shame is such a strong feeling. And it causes a lot of really like deep-rooted hurt, because there's failure, there's feelings of failure and embarrassment. I think if we could talk about embarrassment more and shame, I think people would feel safer around others, because it's all about perception too, right? Where it's just like, oh, you thought I was one thing and then I did something, you know, from a kid's language wrong, so now you see me as this other thing. And so I don't know, I guess it's on my mind because it is such a strong feeling I feel in acting scenes when there is shame involved. And in my mind, I go to one thing. And so I know that it reverberates in so many different ways in our lives. So yeah. And I hope that it comes to a point where it's like it's okay to feel those feelings, and we accept each other for those feelings. And we get better at accepting each other for mistakes that we make too.
Yeah. I like that. Actually, there's another trend that was going online recently. That's why I'm like, oh, that's kind of talking about this, where you start off saying like social media is fake. And it's like 10 photos of, and then you're being very truthful. Like, I feel like I didn't get to the point that I wanted in my life.
Oh,
I feel like I love my child, but at the same time, like, I still love to freaking work, and I feel guilty as a mom to love that, you know? So I'm like, whoa, this is starting to be kind of more like the social media that I'm like down for, because I think it just, again, it humanizes everybody.
yeah.
It doesn't put everybody on a pedestal or everything's like hunky dory, because I'm really scared when, especially the younger generation who's only grown up on social media, when they do have shame or when they've done something that they feel like they can't share, like, who am I then?
Yeah.
Like, am I nothing now that that's happened? Or like, how do I, again, like get out of that and have the help in the community to bring me back up?
Yeah. I think that the way that we're able to see social media is so different, and I'm learning more and more that's such a privilege to know that. I do fear for kids growing up who don't have like the barometer of like what is real and what is not, what is tangible, what's not. Because I think social media, when it was kind of a freak show when it all started happening for us, you know, and there was this understanding of all of us being like, yeah, okay, we know what's fake and what's real. Like, we know what skin looks like. Okay, this is not what it is. And so we kind of had a baseline understanding. But nowadays, I mean, even sometimes I can't tell these days.
Yeah.
You know, and especially with like AI and things, it is getting so much better. I have a gut feeling if something is real or not, or, you know, a little off. But it goes back to, what is it, Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink, where it's like you have a gut feeling of whether or not something is true or not, but that's also contingent on having a baseline. I wouldn't be able to tell what, if a statue of David was fake or not. But somebody with an art degree and somebody who has seen a lot of sculpture could. Mm-hmm. So you need that baseline before you can have that gut feeling. Yeah. And I think with social media, I can't imagine just growing up only on it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have the same perspective.
Yeah. Do you agree with the whole thing that I believe that Adobe's doing now too, where it kind of tells you this has been generated, this is AI? The whole forthcoming a part of that, is that necessary for us to like consume media that is AI generated now?
I think it is necessary. I don't think it's going to change how we still intake it. Mm-hmm. I can look at something that looks perfect and I can say, yeah, that's AI generated. And then there's still a part of my brain that goes, but wouldn't it be nice if that was actually real? And then, whatever that is, whether it's a plant or, a person that looks like me or a version of myself or a house, if it's perfect, then my brain goes, well, okay, maybe you can't get that, but hey, you can aspire for it. And then so comes another cycle of insano like expectations for yourself. Yeah. Even if you know that it's AI generated. I don't know. It's another layer of safety, but our brains do what our brains want to do.
Yeah. Well, our brains now probably want to eat.
Yes.
So I'm so excited. Where are we going? Like, do you have what are your suggestions here to eat?
There's really good Asian food.
Okay.
It's in Chinatown though. Chinatown is the best place to go. I love Izakaya Go. Yeah, Chinatown Plaza, I would say. But around here, I don't know. Oh, Rocky and I went to a sushi place not too long ago.
Ooh.
That place was good. Ichi Ramen is good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some options. There's some nice plug spots. Now that I'm out in Vegas a lot more, I'm like, oh man, you're in Vegas too. Like, I need to get recommendations from the locals.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for allowing me to set up.
Are you kidding?
I should flip the camera. It's like there's 3 cameras and everything.
I love that you're here.
And I just love that no matter like even how big and all the things that you become, the biggest star out there, that you still make time. And that's the one thing that I find so humbling and so just wonderful about you. So thank you for just like never changing, but also changing. If you know, like you get my drift.
You're the same way. Are you kidding me, Nicki? You are talking about what is it? What did you call it? Queens.
Oh, go off.
Queens go off. Yeah, talk about you, Nicki. Oh my goodness, you interview such like high level folks. I mean, thank you for having me on here.
I love hearing what you have to say. Again, like having this moment to be able to host and interview and put on my friends, creators that I absolutely have enjoyed, and I gain knowledge and value from them. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if we can just do something and an audience can be like, I'm inspired by that person and I want to do it too. So thank you for allowing me to, finally go forth and be my main character energy and have like a podcast with my name on it. I think for the longest time I did suffer from imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, well, no one can tell me no because I'm the one that's in charge of everything. So if I don't do it, no episode goes up. But if I do it, then it goes out and then I feel so much better for it. And thank you for allowing me to have this exchange with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I love you too. Yay. But thank you again to Mari Takahashi, aka Atomic Mari. Make sure you follow her on all platforms. And I'll catch you on the next episode of the Nicki Sun Show. Bye.